this is a questionnaire for law enforcement. This is a way to begin a conversation with your son-in-law, who is a state policeman, or your cousin, or maybe you have coffee and play golf with the chief. What are the Sharia crimes that are in violation of federal and state law? We've had very important people tell us that they don't understand Sharia, and if they're in law enforcement, that's a problem. Have your officers and members of your command staff received any training in the Islamic jihad threat, or is your training only on countering violent extremism? You probably know that countering violent extremism is a concept for national security. You might not know that the Muslim Brotherhood wrote the definition under Obama, and if you get trained in that, you will assume that Don McKay and I are more dangerous because we are part of the extremist group. If you look at the head of CARE, he was in front of the White House 2 weeks ago in protest of the move of the embassy to Jerusalem, identifying the fact that the extremists in America are evangelical Christians. So violent extremism is teaching people how to look out for evangelical Christians as well as other people. Well, that's not the problem. So if that's the training, they need to upgrade their training. So you would ask a police officer, do you have any, or leader, have any plans to monitor the mosques in your jurisdiction? Are you aware that an independent study has identified that 80% of these mosques promote violence against Jews and gays and women and non-Muslims? That's a tough conversation, but we're trying to deal with the truth. We want police to deal with it. If they haven't had the training, they need it. If a citizen asked you for a list of indicators of jihadi radicalization, what would you tell them? You know, you have a Crime Stoppers group. You teach people how to look out for crime. Certainly try to help people look out for child abuse. We register sex offenders in your neighborhood. We have people that are coming out of these mosques and going home, and they are married as a 65-year-old to a 12-year-old girl, because that's okay under Sharia. Well, in America, it's pedophilia. So what are the indicators of behavior as a police officer or leader that you would invite citizens to look for? What steps are you and your agencies prepared to take if you receive information that someone in your jurisdiction is being radicalized to mass murder, to jihad? Again, remember, I didn't make these up. This is the police chief who teaches the policemen that have taken the training. This is his questionnaire. The people that take the class know how to answer this question. Have your officers received training in how to recognize the difference between domestic violence and honor violence? And we just have a few more, but they're kind of interesting. If a Muslim female reported she was raped, would you be concerned for family retaliation against her? Remember, a woman who is raped has to have 4 male witnesses under Sharia. If she could not produce 4 male witnesses of the rape, she is determined to be the perpetrator. It was her fault. That is no-fault rape under Sharia. So if a policeman is involved in a situation like that, do they even understand that the woman is at risk because she came forward? She's not heroic in the mindset of the family, and she could have physical damage done to her. If a local school reports that a young female Muslim student is being sent to her family's home country of origin against her will in the Middle East or Africa, does this raise any red flags? Well, she's probably being sent away for female genital mutilation. You're a policeman. What are you going to do? If your officers encounter a teenage Muslim girl who's a runaway, who says her parents are forcing her to marry a much older man against her will, what will you do? Unfortunately, there's too many examples, particularly in Europe, in the UK, for example, where the police want to be asleep. Again, we love the police. They're keeping us safe every day. On our way home, they're watching for speeders. They're doing a great job. They're investigating crimes. There are terrible crimes committed, as you see on every single news day in Detroit and every other place in America. These are great guys. They just need the training so they can enforce the law when it affects Sharia. Is your department taking any special steps to protect the general public from vehicle jihadi attacks, especially when there are large gatherings of people? And again, these are just questions to have to begin a conversation. Our goal, again, we want you to help us get police to take the training. So, at this point, this is who we are, Sharia Crime Stoppers. We're concerned about all of that behavior. And if you get a police department that wants to talk to the police chief, just show them this. All they need to do is send an email to spearpoint911@shariacrimestoppers.org. It's a real email. On the other side of that email is the police chief. He will pick up the phone and contact that police chief and have a conversation, talk about options, talk about questions they might have, etc. He's done this with 150 jurisdictions, and he's ready to deliver the training for the police.